Hi, I'm Steve Good. Welcome to the Scroll Saw Workshop. In the last video that I posted on the blog, we talked a little bit about cutting metal with the scroll saw, and we made a little scorpion, and I put a pattern up to give you a few other things just to try out. And today I'm going to continue in the metal cutting. I'm going to do another project today that requires a cutting jig. And what we're going to do is we're going to create jewelry from coins. And what I'm going to do in this video is make a jig that we can put the coins in to hold them steady as we cut them on the scroll saw. Fun project, makes pretty nice looking jewelry, and this is legal, by the way. You can cut coins as long as you're not trying to defraud anybody. It's perfectly legal to cut them. So with that, I'll show you what we need to make this jig, and we'll get started. Obviously, to take something this small, and in this case we're going to make a jig to cut a quarter, obviously you can modify this just by changing the size of the hole that we're going to make for different size coins. But to hold a quarter this small on the scroll saw would be very difficult, if not impossible, and to make some clean cuts. So what we need is some kind of jig to hold this quarter steady as we're cutting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a block of oak. Now this oak is 3.5 inches long, and it's 1.5 by 1.5 in dimension. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a couple holes in this, and then we're going to slice it in half, and I'll show you as we go through it to make a jig to hold this. Now I'm also going to use a jig that we talked about previously here at Scroll Saw Workshop, and that's this 3D cutting jig. And if you look on the blog at www.scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com and you go back through the archives, you'll find the 3D cutting jig video and the plans to make this. So we've already done the plans for this, but we are going to use it in this project. The other things you'll need is a 1-inch Forstner bit and a 7/8 inch Forstner bit. I'm going to use the jeweler's blades again, so you'll need some type of cutting blade. And in coin cutting, you can get down to the absolute finest blades you can get your hands on. So I'm going to start out with a number 2 in this project, but you could definitely get even smaller than this to do some detailed cutting. Also, obviously, we're going to need some coins, in this case quarters. And another thing in cutting coins that's invaluable is head-mounted magnifying glasses. So you're going to see I'm going to use that today. Usually don't use magnifying when I'm cutting on the scroll saw, but on these coins I find it pretty necessary. So with that, we'll get started. What I've done with this 1/2 by 1/2 by 3.5 inch piece of oak is I've created a center point here on this, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here just a little bit closer. I've drawn a center point on this, and I'm going to take a awl and I'm going to go ahead and make myself a little starter hole. Because what we're going to do now is take this over to the drill press, and we're going to cut a couple holes. And you'll see when we get over there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 1-inch Forstner bit, and I'm going to drill a hole at a depth just a little deeper than the depth of the quarter. So it's not going to be a very deep hole, obviously. It's just going to be deep enough to recess this quarter down into. Then, because of the spur on the Forstner bit, we'll have a starter hole for this one. And we're going to take the smaller bit, Forstner bit, and go ahead and drill all the way through the piece of oak. So I'll take us over to the drill press, and we'll get started on that. Over here at the drill press, I've gone ahead and chucked up the 1-inch Forstner bit. Now you want to make sure you use the 1-inch first, because that's going to be the hole that we're going to drill to the depth of a little deeper than the quarter. So I've got my punch hole already started, and I'm going to take this the spur of the Forstner bit and get it in that hole. And again, I'm going to start the drill press now, and we're just going to cut to a fairly shallow depth. It's going to go just a little bit deeper. Okay, you don't want to go too deep on this cut because we want to be able to have the coin as close to the top as possible. Okay, now with that cut, I'm going to go ahead and chuck up the 7/8" bit and we'll drill through the rest of the block. Got the 7/8 Forstner bit installed in the drill press now, and again, if you can see this, I've still got the small indentation from the brad point on the 1" Forstner bit, and I'm going to use that indentation to line this up dead center to the hole here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut through the rest of this piece of oak. So usually before I start the drill press, I'll go ahead and bring it down and let it go ahead and self-center into that hole. Now, probably is a good idea to clamp this piece to the drill press table. In this case, it's fairly soft wood, so I'm going to go ahead and just try to hand hold it. Okay, I'm going to finish drilling through this piece. You can usually feel once you get to the bottom. You'll feel it right through. Right there, it just went through. Go ahead and let that bit come to a stop. And now I'm going to zoom in here as close as I can and show you what we've got. If you can see this, what we have after the outside hole, we've got a little ridge in here, which is what the quarter is going to set on. So now what we'll do is we'll take this piece back over to either the table saw or the bandsaw, and we'll go ahead and cut it in half, and then we'll have our clamp ready. I brought our clamp over here to the bandsaw. Now you could do this on the scroll saw also, but if you have a bandsaw, it's just going to make it a lot quicker. And I've drawn a center line right down the middle of this block, and what I'm going to do is take the bandsaw and slice this clamp in half right down the center line. Okay, we've got the two halves now cut out, and what we'll do now is we'll go start sanding these edges down until we can get a good clamping pressure on the quarter. And I'll take you back over to the workbench and show you how we're going to do that. Okay, the ideal is when we get this finished that if we put these together and drop our quarter in there, the quarter is going to set on that inner ledge. And what we have to do is get the outer circle to clamp around this quarter so it'll be held in there nice and tight. Now you'll see now that I've cut it in half, the quarter still falls right out. So what we're going to do is just take off a little bit off of each edge until we get the diameter small enough that the quarter will stay in there. And to do that, I'm going to take it over to the sander, and we'll do a little power sanding on this.